Phoenix Mercury head coach Nate Tibbets. He just exposed the fact that he played a part of the DeWanna Bonner plan to scam the Indiana Fever.
When Phoenix Mercury's head coach Nate Tibbets joked about DeWanna Bonner being their third time's a charm signing and casually mentioned Alyssa Thomas helping make it happen, the internet exploded. Those few seconds of footage flipped the entire WNBA narrative on its head. Was this just an innocent reunion, or proof that Phoenix planned Bonner's exit from the Fever all along? Let's break down the footage that Indiana Fever fans call the proof that Bonner and the Mercury scammed Indiana. Do you think Phoenix and Bonner should be investigated? Let us know down in the comments below.
She had no intentions on playing out her full contract with the Indiana Fever. This was a heist. This was a robbery. This was a flat-out scam from the beginning.
At first, the Fever's front office thought they had pulled off the perfect blend of youth and experience. DeWanna Bonner, a two-time champion, was supposed to be the steady veteran presence to help Caitlin Clark and Aaliyah Boston transition from promise to power. The talk around camp was all about leadership. Reporters called her the missing piece, a mentor who could keep things steady during a long season. For a franchise trying to turn the chaos of growing pains into a playoff run, Bonner looked like a safe bet. The preseason hype was that her guidance would fast-track chemistry and help Clark learn the WNBA rhythm under a true pro.
Nate Tibbets literally exposes how he's been planning to get DeWanna Bonner, how they orchestrated this whole thing. Let's get right into it, man. DeWanna Bonner should be under investigation. The Phoenix Mercury should be under investigation for tampering. You should be under investigation for tampering with the player while they're on another roster. Yes, you should. Yes, you should.
That optimism barely lasted a month. 9 games into the experiment, Bonner wanted out. She demanded a trade, then got waived. The turnaround was so abrupt that even Fever insiders sounded blindsided. Local articles floated the idea of fit issues, claiming that Bonner's style didn't mesh with Indiana's up-tempo flow or Clark's pace-heavy offense. But the fans didn't buy it. On social media, accusations started flying. This wasn't about fit, it was about finesse. People were calling it a setup, saying Bonner used the Fever to collect her check, keep her stats visible, and slide back into the arms of a franchise that had been circling her all along.
Oh, the reality was she got there, she couldn't play, she didn't play well, she couldn't compete. She lost her starting job to Lexi Hull, so she threw a hissy fit and forced her way out. And that makes DeWanna Bonner look all kinds of terrible.
The team's official statement sounded standard, but the silence from Bonner herself was louder than anything else. Her only words were, "Despite our shared goals and excitement heading into the season, I felt the fit did not work out, and I appreciate the organization's willingness to grant my request to move on, particularly at this point in my career." Then she disappeared. No goodbye to teammates, no video tribute, not even a post thanking the fans. For someone who had been marketed as a mentor, her exit came off as cold, even rehearsed.
And luckily, the last 2 off seasons, we've tried to get DB to come back to Phoenix, and so we've been able.
Okay, the last 2 off seasons. So before we even get to this off season where she signed with the Indiana Fever, she was with the Connecticut Sun. She was with the Connecticut Sun. You're tampering. You're tampering, trying to get her to go to Phoenix. You're tampering.
By that point, threads were already connecting Phoenix back to her. Fans started digging up every hint of communication between the Mercury and Bonner, calling it tampering before anyone in the league office dared touch the word. Some even pointed to her short stint on the bench and that mysterious personal leave she took as proof that her heart, and maybe her loyalty, was already somewhere else. Each new clue made the story messier, but also more believable. And as the frustration boiled over in Fever circles, the feeling grew that this wasn't incompetence from the front office. It was betrayal. Then came the leaked clip of Nate Tibbets, and suddenly those so-called conspiracy theories didn't sound so far-fetched after all.
To build a relationship a little bit. Unfortunately, she did pick us twice. Third time is a charm. I think AT helped in that a little bit. So yeah.
So she didn't pick us twice. She was with the Fever. Y'all knew She wanted a max. Y'all knew y'all didn't have the money to give her. You said that earlier in the season. We didn't have the money to pay her. So she went and signed a max with the Fever for a certain amount of time so she could get that money, and then she could quit, continue to get paid, and then go join you for the salary you guys could afford from the beginning.
The clip itself wasn't long, just a few seconds of post-game chatter from Phoenix Mercury head coach Nate Tibbets. But those seconds carried a lot of weight. With a grin on his face, Tibbets said, "Luckily, the last 2 off-seasons we've tried to get DB to come back to Phoenix. Unfortunately, she didn't pick us twice. Third time is a charm. I think Alyssa Thomas helped in that a little bit." That last line, "Alyssa Thomas helped in that a little bit," was the one that lit the fuse. It wasn't rumor anymore. It was their own coach saying the quiet part out loud. Every phrase sounded casual enough for a locker room, but together it mapped out exactly what Fever fans had been warning about. A pre-planned recruitment that stretched across multiple seasons.
Wanting her to end her run, however, it's going to end, right? I mean, what a story for her to come back after playing here for 10 years. And you never know for sure how it's going to work, right? But we knew that we needed to add another veteran to our group for these situations.
Wait a second, I just realized you did say Alyssa Thomas played a part in it.
For anyone who had followed Bonner's journey, his words confirmed that Phoenix hadn't just gotten lucky. This was years of pursuit. Tibbets' tone had that overconfident ease, like someone reminiscing about a plan finally coming together. To WNBA fans, that came across less like storytelling and more like a confession. When you say, "We've tried to get DB for 2 off-seasons," you're admitting contact or intent during times she was still contractually tied to another team. The league's collective bargaining rules don't leave room for that kind of wiggle. Unauthorized talks, back-channeling, or agreements outside of official free agency windows are banned for a reason. Under those rules, this looked like tampering in broad daylight. But what made the clip sting wasn't only the blatant nature of what he said, it was how casually he said it. No hesitation, no media training kick-in, just a man beaming about finally closing a deal that had been years in the making. The stadium laughed, but outside, Fever fans weren't laughing. Online, the same people who had been dismissed as conspiracists suddenly had their proof. Someone clipped the footage, stripped it of context, and labeled it the WNBA's first public tampering clip. It spread within hours, jumping from fan accounts to highlight pages to national sports talk shows.
She literally refused to be traded to any other team besides, or at first it was, I'll go to Atlanta or Phoenix. Then it became only Phoenix. While she's actively on the Indiana Fever roster. That is tampering. Point blank, period. Y'all had this thing orchestrated and set up, and you just admitted to trying to get this thing in order for the last 2 seasons. She was under contract with the Connecticut Sun, and that probably plays a big part in why Alyssa Thomas ran to Phoenix.
Comments flooded in. So they admit it? This is the Phoenix receipt. You don't joke like that if it didn't happen. The phrase Phoenix receipt stuck because it perfectly described what everyone saw, a public record of what was supposed to stay behind closed doors. Then came the heavier discussions. People pulled up screenshots of Bonner's brief stint in Indiana, her minimal public engagement, even the way she appeared distant on the bench during huddles. Fans started connecting every dot they could find, convinced Phoenix knew they would get her no matter what Indiana offered. To them, this wasn't about basketball chemistry failing. It was about premeditation.
She ran to Phoenix knowing that you guys were already had a deal in place to bring DeWanna Bonner over, which is how she scammed the Indiana Fever, lied, pretended that she was going to be this veteran presence for Caitlin Clark and all of this stuff, all of this nonsense that she had no intentions of doing, and then she quit within 8 to 10 games. Come on, man. Come on.
What made it worse was the connection with Alyssa Thomas. Everyone knew she and Bonner were engaged, but when Tibbets said, "I think AT helped in that a little bit," it sounded like an inside wink. The subtext was impossible to miss. If Thomas, a star forward herself, played any role in convincing Bonner to leave Indiana, That blurs the line between personal loyalty and professional ethics. It's one thing to support your partner moving jobs. It's another if that support involves contact between teams that shouldn't be communicating. That gray area is exactly what tampering laws are meant to prevent. Even neutral analysts could see how bad it looked. When a coach openly ties his acquisition to a player on another roster's involvement, you're no longer speculating, you're confirming influence. Under the WNBA's rulebook, those unauthorized interactions can trigger fines up to $1 million and even restrict future signings. But the league's silence sparked another round of outrage. Why wasn't there an investigation? Why was it taking fan pressure to even start a conversation? For Fever supporters, it felt like confirmation of a double standard.
We would not be sitting here for a lot of reasons without her. Game 4 in Minnesota, hitting those 3 big threes. She couldn't hit a shot the first 3 games, and the bright lights don't scare her. And we're very lucky to have her.
Yeah, now y'all, yeah. Y'all definitely orchestrated this thing. This is 100% orchestrated and set up. It's obvious. Like y'all not even hiding it anymore. It's obvious this was the plan from the get-go. This was the plan, y'all. She never had any intentions on finishing out a full season. Her contract, which she was contractually obligated to the Indiana Fever.
Fans were furious. They had sacrificed time, structure, and development money to bring Bonner in. And if this footage was any indication, Phoenix had been quietly planning to snatch her from the start. By the time sports journalists joined the conversation, the clip had already defined the narrative. This wasn't a veteran choosing a new chapter. This was an orchestrated exit. Every word of Tibbets' statement aligned perfectly with earlier rumors about Phoenix's multi-season pursuit. Those off-the-record whispers that insiders once brushed off now looked like careful groundwork. The optics were terrible. Phoenix positioned itself as the mastermind, Indiana as the mark. Tibbets might have thought he was being charming, but in doing so, he handed fans the exact proof they'd been missing. 3 sentences undid every excuse about fit issues. The messy breakup between Bonner and the Fever suddenly looked more like strategy than misfortune. The video clip became shorthand for corruption, proof that Indiana hadn't been paranoid, they'd been played. And as Fever supporters kept replaying those words, 3rd time's a charm, helped in that a little bit. They didn't just hear arrogance. They heard confirmation that all their frustration had been justified, and they wanted answers from a league suddenly very quiet about its own rulebook.
She had no intentions of playing that out. None at all. Straight up played in our face, disrespected the fans. You walked in, you said, oh my gosh, I've never seen a banner up like that of me. Then after the first game, it's, oh, I've never seen this many fans. This is amazing. This is beautiful.
When the clip of Nate Tibbets hit social media, the reaction came fast. Fever fans flooded every platform, tagging the WNBA's official accounts, demanding an investigation, and asking how a team could brag about a multi-year pursuit of a player who had been under contract somewhere else. The comments ranged from disbelief to straight-up fury. Some called it collusion in plain sight, while others called DeWanna Bonner's exit the most obvious setup they'd ever seen. The sense of betrayal cut deep. People weren't just mad about losing a player. They were angry that Indiana had been played like a pawn. Every time someone replayed Tibbets' grin, the resentment grew louder, and the pattern seemed too convenient to ignore. The structure of what fans began calling a max-level heist was simple but infuriating. Phoenix ended up with a star without trading assets, spending picks, or giving up cap space, while Indiana lost salary flexibility and a chunk of its locker room chemistry. As one user put it on X, conspiracy theory. The Mercury were never able to afford DB on a max in the summer. Now she gets her max from Indy for 40% of the season, and she can play for Phoenix and barely loses a cent. That one comment summed up the mood. It felt as if Phoenix had gamed the system, letting Indiana front the money and the minutes before swooping in once the heavy lifting was done. Everyone could agree on one thing: the Fever got burned.
Then you act like the fans didn't appreciate you and this and that. What do you mean? We celebrated you breaking the record for all-time scoring and getting on the list, whatever the record was. Caitlin Clark subbed back in the game to help you get it because you couldn't throw a rock in the ocean, DeWanna Bonner. She had to sub back in to help you out. You scored it. We all celebrated you, all of this stuff, just for you to already have a plan to go to Phoenix.
The anger also came from how hard Indiana had worked to build something from scratch. With Caitlin Clark pushing the pace and Aaliyah Boston anchoring the paint, the Fever's system finally had direction. Their offense was becoming faster, louder, more exciting to watch. Fans saw flashes of real progress. Then came Bonner, a veteran with championship rings, who was supposed to elevate that system, not derail it. Instead, her half-hearted play and abrupt departure threw off rotations and created a cloud over what had been a promising chemistry. Younger players lost momentum, lineups were shuffled, and the coaching staff had to patch holes mid-season. From the Fever's point of view, the entire project stalled because someone in another city had been making plans behind the curtain. Phoenix, on the other hand, looked like they'd pulled off a robbery. From Brittany Griner to Diana Taurasi, the Mercury have always been a franchise known for stockpiling experience. And after they both left Phoenix, the Mercury got Alyssa Thomas and Satou Sabally. Adding Bonner back into that environment created yet another veteran-heavy lineup, while Indiana was left looking like development fodder. For many Fever fans, this deepened the sense of unfairness that already defines smaller market teams in the league. Big-name franchises seem to get away with bending unwritten rules whenever it benefits them. When Tibbets' voice cracked through that mic, confirming what felt like recruitment long before the trade officially happened, those fears turned into resentment. The idea that Phoenix could operate like a closed circle, selective, entitled, and smug about it, hit a nerve.
DeWanna Bonner signs a max contract, scams the team of the bread, is receiving payments, all while refusing to show up to work. All while refusing to show up. Nobody did anything to her. Now she's trying to play victim, all of this stuff. No one did anything to DeWanna Bonner. She didn't even have the decency to tell her teammates that she wasn't going to return to the team. She just ghosted them.
As the debate spiraled online, Bonner's play became the easiest target. Fans recycled old highlights from last season and mixed them with clips of her lackluster minutes in Indiana. "Declining," one caption said. "Washed," said another. The frustration wasn't just about performance, it was about the attitude. The same player who had been billed as a mentor had looked uninterested, detached, and almost eager to move on. Some speculated that she had underperformed on purpose, citing that same ex-user's claim that she might have been saving herself for Phoenix's system. Whether true or not, the perception locked in. The Fever had put their trust in someone who was already 1 foot out the door. And yet, something unexpected came out of it. The fan base that could have splintered actually came together. Indiana supporters started embracing the narrative of being the team that gets underestimated but keeps showing up anyway. Clark, Boston, Kelsey Mitchell, Sophie Cunningham, and Lexi Hull became the core names fans rallied around. They represented loyalty, growth, and the fight to build something sustainable in a league dominated by star reshuffling. Each game after Bonner's departure turned into a statement of pride. The chants got louder, the merch sales climbed, and the Fever's social pages filled with new slogans about resilience and rebirth. The scandal that should have broke morale ended up fueling it.
Such bad behavior and negligence and petty stuff should not be rewarded. And this is sad that Nate Tibbets is admitting to tampering, and this thing was an orchestrated plan from the beginning.
Even though Fever supporters never got official closure from the league, the scandal ended up clarifying what kind of franchise they wanted to be. Not the one chasing shortcuts, not the one lured by overhyped veterans, but the one powered by loyalty, accountability, and connection. The Mercury could keep their headlines. Indiana was busy turning betrayal into fuel. And now, every highlight from Clark or Boston feels like its own rebuttal to everything Phoenix thought it could take. This isn't scandal fatigue, it's ignition. The moment Indiana stopped waiting for respect and started earning it, one possession at a time. Phoenix might have scored a short-term victory, but Indiana has the lasting momentum. The Fever's young core is built on talent that can't be bought or borrowed. It's earned through every possession they grind through. That's the difference between building hype and building history. So if you're tired of watching privilege win on technicalities, then demand for an investigation into Phoenix. Do you think Phoenix and Bonner should be investigated? Let us know down in the comments below. Like, subscribe, and turn on all notifications so you never miss out. Click the video on the screen, and we will see you in the next one.